You're watching WTOP TV Channel 9, Washington DC at Broadcast House. It's 6:30.
This is Newsnight
in
color.
July the story of Sunday, July 7th, 1968. Graham and Charles Crawford on the Sunday, January 7th, 1968. Here's what's happened on Newsnight, the Sunday Evening Report. A steady snowfall coated the Washington area yesterday to a depth that had exceeded an inch in several areas by nightfall. The Weather Bureau said that the fall probably will be continued throughout the night and might reach a total of 4 inches. South of Washington, the precipitation was in the form of freezing rain at Richmond and Charlottesville. The Bureau said skies should clear today. It will be windy throughout the day and the temperature is not expected to exceed 30 degrees. Oh, Key West, Florida had a low yesterday of 73 degrees, but not much more in common with such readings of 40 to 9 degrees below at Warren, Minnesota, 40 below at Twin Mountain, New Hampshire, 33 below at Superior, Wisconsin, 32 below at Fargo, North Dakota, 19 below at Messina, New York, 18 below at Casper, Wyoming, and 8 below at Burlington, Vermont. It was only 2 below at Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan, but that city had enough over 18 inches of snow were the main problems of the snow and the cold. As snow fell yesterday from the Central Plains into the Great Lakes area and the Central Appalachians with flurries and squalls accompanied by a fresh blast of Arctic air. Freezing rain and sleet extended from eastern New Mexico to Kentucky and Tennessee and the western portions of Virginia and the Carolinas. Peter Wiggins will have the weather at around 6:45, 6:50. And Annapolis, Maryland's Constitutional Convention prepared late today to take a final vote yesterday on the 14,000-word document that ever to replace the state's century-old Constitution. Approval of the proposed Constitution by a solid majority of the 142-member convention is a foregone conclusion, although last-minute amendments are still possible despite a steady snowfall last night. Adjustments were still possible as Convention President H. Vernon Aney told delegates that they should plan to remain in session last night until we finish. Every announced by Aney that if the voting is completed, the delegates will return at Annapolis for a brief session Monday to check the accuracy of the printed version of the Constitution that they adopt. The Constitution, which will go before voters in ratification on May 14th, would bring vast changes to Maryland's government and has been described by constitutional scholars as a model for other states. The document will be signed Wednesday and the ceremony is sitting in the convention chamber, and the convention will be adjourned permanently for 2 days before the status deadline. The time for the signing ceremony has not been set, but it will probably be late morning or noon according to Aney. The new draft Constitution is less than 2/5 of the size of the 40,500-word document now in effect, which has been amended some 200 times in its 101 years. The new document attempts to prepare Maryland to cope with modern and future problems by strengthening government.
It's never been this cold for anyone in the U.S.
Saigon, North Vietnamese troops ambushed an outnumbered company of 103 soldiers from the U.S. in the Quezon Valley Friday night and killed, wounded, captured all but 24 in battle waged into Saturday morning. There, 16 soldiers of the company of the 196th Light Infantry Brigade were killed, 56 were wounded, and 7 were listed as missing in action. Only 2 enemy bodies were found. 6 communist prisoners were taken before the enemy were driven off. Elsewhere in the ground war, communist troops overran the district capital 6 miles from the big U.S. air base at Pianoa and only 20 miles from Saigon. Before the communists withdrew after 5 hours, they assassinated the village chief and the town council, blew up the new marketplace, and burned 110 homes. In the air war, U.S. plane losses in combat rose to 1,003 with the announcement that the 4 U.S. jet fighter bombers were shot down Friday over North Vietnam. The loss of content places shot down over both North and South Vietnam, approaching total losses of the U.S. combat today. Korean War with 1,041 lives lost. The ambush of the U.S. infantry company took place in the coastal Quezon Valley, about 360 miles northeast of Saigon, in a zone of increasingly heavily combat since the New Year's truce ended. Colonel Louis Killen of Carlisle, Pennsylvania, commander of the 196th Light Infantry Brigade, told newsmen at the trial that the company was on the move toward a night defensive position when it was hit by a mortar barrage of patrol 2 miles west of Tankay. Killen and the company commander, where the platoon leader was wounded by the first coming around, the company pushed on toward its position and got pinned down. The met a force easily 2.5 times the size of what? The Justice Department pressed for the indictments of leaders in the anti-draft movement in the United States and prosecute them on the same grounds as the Protesters in that Friday was learned yesterday afforded their sources and was learned likely there will be 2 or 3 more indictments each involving several thousands of persons. The indictments, because of the difficulty of collecting evidence, were not immediately according to the sources draft. The 5 persons indicted yesterday are widely known.
Food and the bathroom situation less than ideal. They were finally busted.
Washington area incinerators at virtual gold mines and Interior Department Bureau of Mines reported yesterday that federal prospectors dispatched
All by herself.
discovered that an average ton of fly ash of 7 local incinerators contained about $14 worth of gold and silver. Nationwide, this represents a $7 million a year load of precious materials waiting to be dug into. The Bureau said about 500,000 tons of fly ash are produced annually in the incineration. The fly ash, a white powdery ash trapped in incinerators chimneys, are now carted to dumps. The district for incinerators produced several truckloads of fly ash a week. Sensation officials say that they were never weighed that the gold and silver come mostly from the photographic materials, silverware, and costume jewelry, and other plated articles, and even from the sparkle dots and greeting cards, the Bureau said. FMF can be found that extracted the gold and silver from fly ash. The Bureau predicts that incinerators might supply as much as 10% of the current industrial and commercial demand for silver and gold. The Washington area fly ash is particularly rich from 2 to 9 ounces of silver and 2 to 5 0.2 to 0.5 ounces of gold per ton have been culled from the ashes of local trash. This is significantly more returned to that per ton than the amounts of gold and silver are being mined commercially, but the Bureau said much of the nation's gold and silver now comes as byproduct of copper mine, and copper once had ores containing an average of 0.08 ounces of silver and 0.004 ounces of gold per ton. The Department of Interior's announcement of its mention of the nation's gold problems and suggested that its backyard bonanza its refuse piles are a particular solution. The research was done under the 1965 Solid Waste Disposal Act to define ways that are recycling vulnerable and valuable materials of minerals discarded each year as municipal waste. At his own request, Mayor Washington met yesterday for nearly 2 hours with the City Council to discuss new power proposals and other issues facing the city government this year. The mayor reportedly sought the closed session to clear error after some confusion developed over the council's proper role to prepare new tax recommendations on Friday. Washington announced that it has views of the council's proposal to seek a commuter tax out of our levies as no legal standard nowhere, only advisories. Several councilmen were both surprised and dismayed to learn this, but participants in yesterday's meeting in the mayor's office said that no councilman complained in its mayor about its ruling. The Corporation Counsel, Charles T. Duncan, who returned to the office yesterday after a vacation, was asked to take a personal look at the legal issues involved. Council Chairman John W. Hunchinger said that the mayor also discussed the new reports of 5 expert task forces that he named in November to study the city's major problems. The reports may soon made public. The mayor and city council surprised each other with the handling of the proposed budget and both learned from their experience. On the way to jobs as domestics in the northwest Washington area, these women born in the D5 and Connecticut Avenue and McKinley Street buses may spend as much as 5 hours riding and to and from work, but isn't there a quick way?
For 2 years, he was the president's point man on the most important national security decision.
Don't forget, the cost of mailing to a letter jumps from 5 to 6 cents today, and airmail rates go from 8 cents to the dime. Postal cards go from 4 to 5 cents, and airmail cards from 6 to 8 cents to help use up old 5 cents. The Post Office Department says it has 1.4 billion penny stamps in hand. Letters been ran a 5-cent stamp and postmarked after midnight Saturday will be delivered, but the post office says that the receiver of the letter may have been to pay a penny postage due. Princeton, New Jersey, the decision of Senator Eugene McCarthy of Minnesota to run against President Johnson as a peace candidate in the New Hampshire primary on March 12 raises 2 important questions. What is the potential strength of an independent peace party, and what effect would such a party have to the support to the other potential presidential candidates?
His harshest criticism is of Vice President Biden.
To answer today's questions, the national test election was run, mentioned McCarthy against President Johnson. Richard Nixon, the top choice of both the Republican Party. Pros and the rank and file and former Governor George Wallace of Alabama, a probable third-party state rights candidate in the year's race. The results show the following. If a national election were to be held today with these 4 candidates, an independent peace party were headed by McCarthy would draw the supported in about 12% of the voters. McCarthy has said that he had The 1967 economic picture and the outlook for the 1968 exploded into special sections covered in 40 pages in the Washington Post today. Staff writers took an in-depth look at the financial picture in the United States and overseas with eyes trained to the current problem of the gold value. New York Senator Eugene J. McCarthy, Democrat of Minnesota, yesterday criticized Americans, including some of the highest levels of government and politics who opposed the Vietnam War, yet refused to take up the fighting against President Johnson. His unusually hard-hitting address was regarded as a call to hesitating Democrats rallying beyond this peace, canceling for the party's presidential nomination. McCarthy spoke before the coalition of conservative Democrats, New York State's Johnson organization. The senator has said many of his members of Congress and many business, labor, academic, and religious leaders have spoken and acted against the administration's war policy, yet some Americans, including top political and government officials, have not yet spoken as their minds and consciences, he said. In some cases, they had not spoken their minds for reasons of personal and political convenience. He said there are few, I suspect, who are waiting for a kind of latter-day salvation for years. It's too long to wait. Judgment and action are needed now. It is apparent that one of the McCarthy's struggles was Senator Robert F. Kennedy, Democrat in New York, who has attacked America's Vietnam policy in several occasions, yet in San Francisco yesterday, reiterated his support for President Johnson should be renominated. McCarthy said it been. Leave that. The Justice Department pressed for indictments of leaders in the anti-draft movement in the United States and prosecute them on the same grounds as the protesters indicated Friday were learned yesterday. Authoritative sources will say that likely that there will be 2 or 3 more indictments each involving several persons. The indictments, because of the difficulty of collecting evidence, will not be immediate sources according to the draft. The 5 people indicted yesterday, all widely known in the anti-Vietnam War and anti-draft movement, were pediatrician Benjamin Spock, Yale University Chaplain William Sloan Coffin Jr., and former White House aide Marcus G. Haskin, writer Mitchell Goldman, and Harvard University graduate student Michael Ferber. The indictment returned by a federal grand jury in Boston conspiring to encourage violations of draft laws, which had charged the 5 people with that. Conviction could bring a maximum penalty of 5 years imprisonment and a $10,000 fine for each defendant after that was not 3 and were widespread. Bob Wall will have the weather, and Bob Wall will have the sports, and Peter Wiggins will have weather after this commercial break. Stay tuned on the Newsnight.
Police officers and firefighters lied, about half of them blaming 9/11 for their disability. But investigators
Excuse me.
Video and postings on social media reveal the defendants do not appear to be disabled, despite their claims they could not use a computer, could not drive, could not shop.
Sale exclusive clothing from regular stock, including Petrocelli, Cardinal, Eagle, Loosemouth, Redner, Alain Cassidy, Promenade, Barry Walt, Sensitive, Birdie Shoes, many items and sportswear also included in this semi-yearly sale. Charge accounts invited at TJ Kaufman at 10th and Pennsylvania Avenues at 14th and I Street in Washington, D.C.
Died on 9/11. George Siller lost his brother Steve, a firefighter.
The firefighters and police that I know were digging on the pile right after 9/11 to rescue and then to recover. And many
Save $1,000 and $2,000 off olds on the very last 6, 7 inch shoes from 13 in stock. From this 6 factory air conditioned Delmont E8 2 and 4 door hot tops, $1,000 and $1,200 off.
That he is sickened, he's appalled by the
2 factory air conditioned Delta A8 sedan, $1,100 to $1,300 off. 3 factory air conditioned Olds 98 luxury sedan, $1,400 to $2,000 off. And the last Olds Tornado factory air conditioned with full power equipment at $600 off at Westin Oldsmobile at 56th Center in Baltimore Avenue and US 1 in Hyattsville, Maryland. Phone is 8P7 2000.
Diet was chosen the best one of the year, and you'll meet some people who found a way to lose weight and keep it off. And a stunning idea for the first
At Market Tire and Company in 15 convenient locations. You get fully retreated from wall-to-wall snow tires. No training need and includes a Cooper retread tires, a casing from Goodrich, Goodyear, Firestone, General, Armstrong, and US Rail, and many others. Not all brand of casings in all sizes each, or 2 for $15.88. Then it's Fitz Custom 360 First Line 4-ply nylon cord for tubeless tires made by one of America's largest tire manufacturers at $12.95. And wheels as low as $444 and safety test for your car. Electronically complete diagnostic car endless at $6.95.
wherever you are today.
And engine tune-up at $588. Buckner batteries at $788. Brakes relying on 4 wheels, including labor liners at $1250. And wheel laminate on electric business liner $444 on one of America's largest discount tire chains. That's Market Tire Company here. You're watching Newsnight on Television 9. Okay, on to the sports here now. It's Bob Waller. Just one Catholic University seemed to have the momentum. Georgetown ran off 7 straight points in an overtime period and defeated the Cardinals 78-76 yesterday. Catholic had fought back from a 7-point deficit and tied the game at 68-68 at the end of regulation on 2 jump shots by sophomore Bob Gawk. Then a pair of foul shots by Gawky and layup by Bob Streffer had 27 points, put the Cardinals ahead by 72-70 with 3 minutes left in the overtime period. The senior supporters in the Howard as McDonough Gym were beginning to envision a stunning upset. Then suddenly the Cardinals shooting went south and Georgetown pulled away for its 5th victory in 6 games. Charlie Adrian tied the score on the tip and Mike Luska sank a free throw, and after a Cardinal turnover, Britt Stanbaker hit a jump shot from the circle. 2 foul shots by Dennis Caesar made it 77-72 Georgetown with 1:44 left. Catholic had been playing with hustle and spectacle all afternoon and was not about to give up. Ryan Krasinski made 2 foul shots and as Georgetown attempted to kill the clock, Jim LaBeouf stole the ball and race to the basket. He was fouled so flagrantly by Stanbaker that the Hoya co-captain had been ejected from the game. LaBeouf made only 1 of the 3 shots. He got the rebound and was fouled again in the act shooting and made his first free throw, but missed the second, which could have tied the score. Seal got the rebound, but Ryan Krasinski missed the shot from the corner. When the Hoyas regained possession, they killed the clock until 7 seconds were left when Lasker drew an intentional foul. He missed the second shot, but LaBeouf lost the rebound. Now the Browns and the Cardinals were down to their 4th straight defeat. Catholic had been trailing on the half to 37-35 thanks to a virtual one-man show by Kefari, who had scored 20 points in the Cardinals' points on a wide variety of shots. In the 1967-68 NFL playoff bowling game you saw running on Television 9, it was the Los Angeles Rams, led by Roman Gabriel, who had passed for 2 touchdowns, and Bruce Gossett kicked 3 field goals today as the puppy Los Angeles Rams breezed to a 36 victory over the Cleveland Browns in the NFL's 8th annual playoff bowl in a final score push. Gabriel threw a 43-yard pass to Tommy Mason, which set up rookie Willie Elson's 9-yard touchdown dash. Gossett kicked all the points after all the 3 of the Rams touchdowns they had scored. The game drew only 37,102 to the Orange Bowl compared to the last year's crowd of 65,569. Second stringer Gary Lane injured in Cleveland's only scoring drives, an 81-yard march through his final period highlighted by Lane's 34-yard throw to end 2. Paul Warfield, which created the Rams on the 14-yard line. Leroy Kelly, the NFL's brash and leading king, got the touchdown only 2 running a 2-yard run as Lou Goza mixed the extra point as well as 2 long field goal attempts earlier. Gabriel voted the game's most valuable player for a 21-yard scoring pass to Bernie Tracy in the first period and 2 yards to Billy Trax that put the Los Angeles Rams had 17-0 in the second half. Second quarter, the Rams won and lead to 20-0 on a 3rd period when Goza kicked a 46-yard field goal. Led by Deacon Jones, the Rams fearsome foursome allowed Cleveland only 4 serious touchdown threats and turned back 3 of those. Jones tackled off quarterback Frank Grant for a 12-yard loss. 41 of the straps and penalty shut off the other 2. The battle in an 80-degree weather between the NFL's Eastern and Western Conference runners was waged for comparative players peanuts as $200 for each of the winners and $500 for the losers that eliminate the next Sunday's Super Bowl match between NFL champion Green Bay and Oakland American Football League. The remainder of today's net received went in the players' pension fund. The first time the Rams got the ball, Gabriel directed to a 61-yard scoring match topped by his 20-yard strike to Casey. Minutes later, he 14-yard run by Dick Bass put Los Angeles in the position for Gossett's first field goal, 41-yarder. Gambled on 4th down with inches to go. Gabriel kept the Rams' next scoring drive alive with a 20-yard skip. He climaxed with a 66-yard first with his scored flip the tracks.
179 pounds, she's now at her lowest weight as an adult and committed to losing even more. Lindsay Davis, ABC News, New York.
In Miami, Florida, the American Federation of Professional Athletes affiliated with the International Brotherhood of Teamsters announced today that it has given the National Football League official notice of our union's interest in the representation of NFL players for the purpose of collective bargaining. Telegrams to that effect were signed by the Teamster Vice President Harold J. Gibbons, went to the NFL President Arthur B. Modell, Commissioner Pete Rozelle, and the NFL club owners and that'll be the National Labor Relations Board. Purpose of the notification Gibbons explained to be political possibly under NLRB regulations of any agreement between the league and the NFL Players Association until the issue of union representation is resolved. The Players Association will take formal action this week to register as a labor union with the U.S. Department of Labor. Mike Powell of the Chicago Bears announced today. Powell, president of the association, also announced that Dana Schulman, a Chicago labor attorney, has been retained as chief negotiator in the Labor Relations Council. Schulman had handled all the labor negotiations and has formulated a proposal for its presentation to the club owners. Major pledges and support have been received by the players on all teams in the National Football League, Powell said. The association is meeting here with all the NFL teams, all players in the league will be notification and association action. Powell said that 16 player representatives have voted unanimously to reject efforts by the teams or the union to organize the players. The association will take a militant attitude to protect kids' members and do and take all appropriate action and see the players' demands are met, Powell said. Creighton Miller, who has 11 seasons been legal counsel of the players, has resigned to take a new post in the representation in NH top college players. He will be associated with James Morse of Muskegon, Michigan as an attorney in their new venture. Redskin quarterback Sonny Jurgensen in the National Football League's leading passer will undergo a physical examination in Los Angeles this weekend to determine whether he can play in the Pro Bowl game on January 21st. Jorgensen was found last summer to have a calcium deposit on his thrown elbow and was troubled throughout the season by what Washington team physician Dr. George Westa called a tennis elbow. Nevertheless, Jurgensen completed 28 of 508 passing attempts for 3,747 passing yards, an NFL record figure. Jim Kensel, the NFL's director of public relations, said yesterday from Miami that it's Commissioner Brazil's understanding that Sonny will report to Los Angeles. He will be examined by a physician and determine whether he is physically able to play. Dr. West and Otto Graham will be present. Miami. Jimmy Burns, longtime sports editor of the Miami Herald, who retired only last November, died of home today of apparent cerebral hemorrhage. He was 6'5" and had been in failing health for the last 10 years. Mr. Burns was known as the nation's better-known sports editor. He covered professional baseball, football, and professional golf. A native of Burns, Mississippi, he was a graduate of Oglethorpe College in Atlanta and went to work in the Miami Herald in the 1940s as journalist and newsman. 4 years later, he was promoted to the sports editor.
There was concern about my eyesight.
If you have chickenpox, the shingles virus is already inside you. Only 3 people will get shingles.
London Muhammad Ali, aka Classic K, said today that he lost $8.2 million worth of movie contracts, commercial endorsements, and heavyweight fights for the title since the conviction of refusing to be drafted in the United States Army. Ali, speaking on the London television program, also said he's $80,000 in debt. In New York, Stanford's Derek P. Dutch Farron was named 1967 College Baseball Coach of the Year by his fellow coaches in the Nats last night. In New York, Donnie Marshall, a 16-year veteran of the Mucky Rules, doubles as forward and assistant coach for the New York Rangers.
Is just still too unstable to try it. And you grew up with melted Velveeta for your chips, a yellow...
McKinley, the Inter-High East League favorite and Sherwood of the class of the Montgomery College ABC League, were new members of the top 10 in the Washington Post weekly ranking of the area's high school basketball teams. 2 impressive league victories boosted McKinley from 11th to 8th, while Sherwood jumped up from 12th to 10th after winning its 5th game in 6 starts. DeMaffa and Mackin continued their 1-2 hold at the top. McKinley busted Anna Clussy 101-68 and Phelps 74-41 last week after losing to Mackins in the 7th ranked Johnson. December Sherwood turned back 77-68 over Churchill in a battle for first place among Crest State schools in Montgomery County.
Winds in Europe is causing epic waves across the pond in Spain. What experts call an Atlantic code red. It means the waves. Look at them here.
Paul Miles came off the bench at the start of the second half and helped defeated Macklin to 78 Gonzaga 72-40 in Catholic League basketball yesterday at Carroll. Miles steadied Macklin's offense and played excellent defense, and the Trojans extended their 8-point halftime lead to 51-31 after 3 quarters. Miles and Aaron Cornfitton frequently stole passes when the second-ranked Trojans pressed Ricky Ford scored 9 points in the big third quarter. Covington 6 and Miles 4 as Macklin went to its 10th victory and took a half-game lead over the top-ranked, also undefeated DeMuffin League. Victor Thomas effectively guarded Vince LaBuffy, Gonzaga's most potent offensive weapon. LaBuffy made only 5 points in the first half and 13 for the game in the Eagles' third loss in 10 games. O'Connell 89, Richmond Catholic 75.
Cancers, nervous system and blood disorders, and allergic reactions.
Peter Wiggins will have the weather after this commercial break. Stay tuned.
And discuss whether you've been to a region where certain fungal infections are common. You should not start Enbrel if you have an infection like the flu. Tell your doctor if you're prone to infections, have cuts or sores, and had hepatitis B, have been treated for heart failure, or if you have symptoms such as persistent fever, bruising, bleeding, or paleness.
This is all it takes to install an electric baseboard. A hole's drilled in the baseboard and the cables brought through and attached in the baseboard heater. Electric baseboard heat requires no barrage or remodeling work, and your old heating system can operate during the installation. Screw the baseboard to the wall. The small electric baseboard mounts flush to the wall and takes up the very little space and blends with every decor. Clean up if you can find anything to clean up a few shavings from the drill and the box the baseboard came in. Turn it on and enjoy an electric baseboard heating system, one of the easiest, most convenient ways to enjoy cleaner, more dependable electric heat. And one of the nicest things about electric baseboard heating is that each room is controlled by its own thermostat, and a baseboard system can grow easily as you remodel, as you add onto your house. Clean, quiet, electric baseboard heat, easy to install, easy to live by, and call your Vecco for condition contractor now before you present heating system leaves you out in cold. Vecco, more power to you at less cost. Okay, Peter Wiggins, whatever, bye bye. Vecco, more power to you at less cost. That's Vecco. Now, Peter Wiggins. Good evening, everybody. It was a frigid Sunday today here in DC and all surrounding suburbs around the region. Okay, let's take a look at our 6:55 p.m. report. 16 degrees out of temperature and a national. That same goes for Dallas at 16, Gaithersburg's at 16, 18 out in Andrews, 18 in Indianapolis, 18 in Baltimore, and 20 out in Fort Meade here. Okay, let's take a look at our weather picture around the nation. It shows snow for much of the northeast, stretching out into the New York and Pennsylvania, stretching on Ohio, and up into Michigan, and up in northern UP and Michigan. And cold weather prevailed along with the snowy weather. Mild weather much of the southeast with rain showers in southern Florida, and a line of rain showers in southern Texas and rain showers along the Gulf states and stretching down for the southern Georgia down for the Carolinas there. And in rain showers in northern California on the 95 quarter from northern California down to western Oregon and Washington down for southern British Columbia wall. Snow in the eastern Washington, Oregon, stretching out Idaho, stretching down for the northern Rockies here. Low pressure centered in central Colorado, eastern Washington state, and high pressure centered in central Utah, eastern Indiana, and long stationary front from southern Alberta down through the Rockies and stretching down through Kansas, Oklahoma down to Texas, and a cold front from central Texas and stretching down for the Gulf states and down for northern Florida and down up the Atlantic coastline. So our forecast for Washington D.C. goes like this. Tonight, windy and cold. Low around 10 degrees on Monday, fair and cold at about 25 to 30 degrees. For tonight, for Maryland, clear and windy and cold, highs in the 30s. Monday, fair and cold. Low about 5 to 15 degrees in Virginia, clear and windy and cold tonight, high around 30 today, low around 10 to 15 degrees, and Monday, fair and cold. Low swimming in Chesapeake Bay. Tonight, winds north to northwest about 20-35 knots. Sunday, clear, breezeway about 10 miles. Low tide 8:36 p.m. The Potomac Rivers at the Great Falls is muddy, and that's going to be it for Newsnight on this Sunday evening, January 7th to 6/8. I'm Charles Carvin outside. Bob Wallace and Peter Wiggins saying you have a good evening connection. Television 9 will be Lassie. We'll be back for the 11 p.m. weekend report. Have a good evening.